and welcome back to PlayStation Grenade. So the next gen consoles are finally here. The Xbox Series X and my personal bay, the PS5. So I decided to compare the PS4 user experience to that of the new and improved PS5 to see what exactly has changed between these console generations on Fortnite. And I gotta say, I'm impressed. I'm gonna break down everything I've noticed on PS5, but keep in mind these are on Xbox Series X too. You play wherever you want to play, no shade throwing here. If you'd like to support me, please think about using code ADAMARU in the store, but if not, a like would be much appreciated. Here's a ton of changes you should know when you take the step into the next generation. So let's start with the battle bus, and likely the first thing you'll notice when you see the island are those new cloud formations. Volumetric clouds. I never thought I'd be so happy to see a cloud update in Fortnite, but I am. Check out how the clouds dissipate naturally, and I've also noticed there are far more clouds when you are in a game on PS5 compared to PS4, even when it's the exact same match. It's when you see the whole map from the sky that this minor update looks phenomenal. During my tests, I noticed that the night sky was even more vibrant now with more levels of contrast over the PS4 version, and everything just pops a little more. Next, let's look at those campfires. Here's what lighting a fire used to look like on PS4. Nice? Looks good, right? Well, check it out on the PS5 update. That is lit. Puns. The smoke gathers and the fire burns in incredible detail. The light given off slightly illuminates the area close by. Those effects were here on PS4 and Xbox One, but now on next gen, lighting and elemental effects are insane. Next, the storm. Whilst running around in game, I noticed the clouds as the storm gathers in the distance, and it's changed. I'll switch between PS4 and 5 to demonstrate this. Basically, the storm has additional colours which gather over time. The new purple sections really grab your attention and make the storm much more daunting as it approaches. I've seen some mighty fine looking pink clouds forming where the PS4 keeps to the OG white and purple approach. I then decided to sit and wait for the storm wall to move in. First on PS4, the animation we're used to. It's always been quite difficult to know where the storm starts due to the colour being very subtle. We usually look at a tree in the distance and watch the storm cover it with blue light. Then as the wall gets close enough, the small squares become apparent and the blue and purple colours even out. Well, on PS5, we have a key difference here. The storm wall now has squares upon it from distance right from the outset. It's now easy to spot from any place on the map as the squares grow over the objects in the distance. These squares then subtly fade away when near and the wall becomes the same one as last generation. Here's a super small change I almost missed completely. Whilst opening a loot llama, which doesn't seem to have a new animation by the way, take a look at the shield pot that pops out. On the PS4, it has a shadow underneath, whereas now on PS5, this is a glowing pot giving out a light source. How great is that? Super subtle, but a great update all the same. Next, let's address the foliage around the island. When running around, you'll notice far more blades of grass and plants and stones everywhere. These are most obvious around dirt tracks and near water edges. This really is part of a bigger texture update, because now the trees are much more detailed and defined from the quality of the PS4 days. Of course, the new gen stuff loads much quicker thanks to those SSDs, which means the render distance in-game now is monumental. Which means now there's much less chance you'll get the unrendered buildings in the distance which look like melted toast. And this can also be seen with the new volumetric lighting. Look at Penny's shoulders here, look at the edges of her suit. The light hits these sections and illuminates the character and makes them pop from the background, even more than before. And this is everywhere you go. The lighting on next gen is exquisite, with darker areas more defined and brighter areas piercing through the haze. It's impressive work. Okay, here's a very strange one, but I like it. Do you ever frolic in the water? Okay, keep that to yourself. On PS4, the interactions with the water is quite minimal. Here I am jumping around like a fool. Whereas on PS5, it looks like this. Notice how the character interrupts the bubbles on the water top and breaks through that flow. It's another completely pointless addition, but it's great all the same. The immersion this offers is usually only available to high-end PC players, but now console gamers have the same visual effects to enjoy. Oh, and this goes even further. Check this out. In shallow water, the physics have changed. Come watch me frolic again. These are dynamic ripples on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, whereas last gen is left without any. In the replay files on PS5, I noticed that these real-time effects don't actually carry over and the water remains lifeless. It's a shame for those people who make cinematic videos, but it just means that if you want to enjoy this goodness, it has to be in a live match. Anyway, this is far too much talking about me jumping around in water. Let's move on. Onto something less great now. Sadly, those expecting to see ray tracing on the new consoles, on day one at least, will be a little upset. To confirm, ray tracing is how light reflects from objects. For the biggest example of this, we tend to look at windows with our characters to see what looks back at us. On PS5, the reflections remain the same as last generation. And if you look closely, the reflection is actually our character as seen on screen, which is why you can spot your own back bling in Windows. So right now, ray tracing isn't here, but it is on the way. I'll let you know in a map change video when that happens. Let's go back to fire again. I decided to burn down a tree to check what happens. On the PS4, everything goes as planned, as you'd expect, but on the PS5, check out the flames. The flames are visibly improved, and the burning around the trees is much more ferocious too. Other random things I've noticed include bigger mushrooms on PS5. It's strange but true. And check out the cool added effect to chug splashes on PS5. A particle effect is added to the splash zone. Check out the bush here. The particles literally drip off the edge. Wow, we really are in the next generation. Dripping bushes. For our next treat, I had fun with explosives and found some more changes. Here are the PS4's booms and explosions. Very nice. But now on PS5, those explosions have been increased, with once again the smoke effects really adding to the intensity again. Same with the grenades and other projectiles. The grenades in particular look way more meaty now on next-gen hardware. And check out the trails on a rocket in motion. Now that looks cinematic. Whilst testing all this, I noticed the new particle animation when a player is eliminated. We are all used to the player deconstructing and vanishing into fresh air, but now on PS5, these have been once again increased. Everything is simply more impactful. Just look at the detail of it breaking away. Another thing you may like to know is what happens when we win a game. Once we win on PS4, a few pieces of paper ticker tape flutter around in the sky and we are proclaimed Vic Roys. Well, on PS5, there is more ticker tape. Yeah, that's it. Strange but true. I do hope it's biodegradable. It should be noted that the PS5 controller supports haptic feedback when shooting, which means when you have a sniper in hand, you'll have to press the trigger down much harder to fire. It tries to replicate real life. This is awful for competitive gamers, but for those who want immersion, you'll be very happy here. Whilst editing this, I noticed another subtle but impactful change. Lens flare. Depending on the time of day, it's possible to see the sun or moonlight reflect from surfaces. You may think that's nothing new, but just look how this horrible swamp changes with a little bit of lens flare added to the camera. I really should have shot this by the ocean. I don't know why I'm choosing Shrek's swamp. So there we have it, 20 changes in the Fortnite Next Gen update. Some are huge, like fire and water, and others are quite subtle, like the lighting and the improved render distances. Overall, the game runs like a dream on Next Gen consoles. I can only vouch for the PS5, but I'm told the Xbox Series X is just as fantastic. Anyway, thanks for your time, and has that thing stuck in your head? Because it really has stuck in mine. On screen now are more of those legends who are kind enough to use code ADAMARU in the Fortnite shop. These guys sent me a Twitter DM to approve their purchase, and I named them because they are legends. Ta-da. Thank you very much for supporting me. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade, you're awesome, and I'll see you next time.